My name's Emile. I've built a national franchise network and have been involved in franchise transfers, assignments, and exits. I've seen exactly how the resale side of franchising works in the real world. In this episode, I'm going to show you what really happens when you try to sell a franchise. Because most people think selling a franchise is like selling a car. List it, meet a buyer, exchange money, done and dusted. But franchising doesn't work like Facebook Marketplace. So I'll walk you through 5 key things you need to understand about how franchise exits actually work before you enter and sign an agreement. Okay, picture this for a second. You've just bought a car, been 5 years now. You don't like the car anymore. You used it, you got your mileage out of it, and you're ready for the next vehicle. So you put up an ad on Facebook Marketplace. Joe Blow comes down, he tries to haggle you. You sell the car, give him the keys, give him the insurance, give him the logbook. Easy, clean transaction. If you sold it for $50,000, you got $50,000, no fees excluded, easy and clean transaction. Do you think selling a franchise is as easy as selling a car on Facebook Marketplace? No, and if you think it is, boy, are you going to be in for a shock. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question that I get on the franchise discovery calls, which is, Emile, if it doesn't work out, what's the exit plan? Let's get into today's video. Righto team, welcome back to Courtside Conversations. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you or explaining to you, can you really sell a franchise? Now, the first key point that I want to make in this video is that every franchise agreement is different. There is no universal reselling process. Every agreement is different. You need to make sure that when you're looking at a franchise agreement, you go onto the section of selling a franchise to figure out what the exit plan is, because every franchise is different, right? And I'll give you an example. I learned the other day that in a Jim's franchise, Jim's Mowing, everybody knows them. If the franchisee no longer wants to be part of the franchise, they just got to give 2 weeks notice to the franchisor and the business closes down. So easy, so clean. 2 weeks notice, done and dusted. But not all franchise companies have that same sale process. In fact, ours is completely different, right? So remember, make sure you review the franchise agreement to find out exactly what the sale process is. That's the first point. Let's move over to the second key point. Key point number 2, selling is not the same as termination. Make sure you make that distinction, right? What's the difference? Termination is pretty bad in a franchise network. That means the franchisor has terminated, removed the franchisee from the network. And most of the times, it's probably because the franchisee has breached some element of the franchise agreement. It could be, compliance issues, not meeting the brand standards. Maybe they did something severe like theft, or they weren't paying their staff minimum wage, or they weren't paying superannuation. All of those are grounds for instant dismissal in a franchise. And it's quite bad, because if I've invested in a franchise and I get terminated from a franchise agreement, I don't get any money back. I can't resell my franchise, so I lose quite a lot. So termination is pretty bad in a franchise. You've lost the rights to the business and you can't recuperate any of your investment. So don't get that mixed up with selling a franchise, because selling a franchise is you sell it, you find a buyer, and you hopefully make money on the sale price, but termination is completely different. So make sure you understand the difference between termination versus reselling a business. Let's move over to the third point. Key point number 3 when you are selling your franchise is the first thing you need to do is get your business professionally evaluated by an accountant. So you need to come up with the sale price, and you can't just pluck up a sale price out of thin air. Oh, I feel like my business is evaluated at $500,000. No, you have to actually get it evaluated by a professional accountant. And they're going to look at things like your profit and loss statements for the last 2 years, your balance sheets, your cash flow, everything, right? And then they're going to base that on a sale price. And what you need to understand is, if you're looking for a franchise buyer to come in and buy the franchise from you, they're going to want to see, profit and loss statements, cash flow, and all those important financial data. You can't just pluck that out. So the first point of call when you are selling your business is to get it professionally evaluated from an accountant. Now, unfortunately, a lot of franchisees, they're trying to get their best sale price. They love to hype up these numbers. Yeah, my business is turning over $200,000 in profit when it might be only turning over $50,000 in profit. So you need to be very ethical when you're going about this. And I know in our industry, selling a kids sports franchise, the common way of, the methodology of coming up with a sale price is whatever the profit is, multiply that by 2 to 3. So for example, if I have turned over $50,000, I can sell the franchise of 50,000 times 2 to 3, which could be, what's that, $100,000 to $150,000. That's common, but every industry is a little bit different. But you've got to make sure you get it professionally evaluated by an accountant. Let's move to the next step. The other day I was speaking to a lady and she was telling me that she's run some hypothetical profit and loss numbers and she wanted to run them by me. So I said, okay, what do you have? I've calculated, Emile, the court hire fees to be about $200 an hour. And then I said, whoa, hold on. Your numbers are really off. And so I said, where did you get those numbers from? Oh, look, I assumed. Never assume. I've created a franchise profit calculator where you can input real numbers, court hire fees, coaches' wages, how many kids you have in the program, so you can find out what your potential profit is per class. Click the link below to use the calculator. I hope you find it useful. Key point number 4 is the first right of refusal. Now, I don't know if you heard that and you got super confused. When I first heard about that, I said, what the heck does that mean? First right of refusal. I'll break it down for you in simple terms. All that means is, as a franchisee, if you're selling your business and you've come up with your sale price, backed up with good financials to support your sale price, the franchisor has the first right to buy back the company from you before you go out to the market to find a buyer. That's all it means. I'll say it one more time, and we have that in our franchise agreement, and it's very common in most franchise companies. When you have come up with your sale price, with your supporting franchise financial documents, the franchisor has the first right to buy back that franchise if they want to. That's all the first right of refusal means. So just remember, you got to offer it back to the franchisor first before you go out to the marketplace to find a buyer. Now, let's move to key point number 5. Okay, key point number 5. Let's assume that for whatever reason, the franchisor doesn't want to buy the business back from you. Then you are responsible for sourcing the buyer. You can go to your friends, families, you can contact a broker, but it'll be your responsibility to find a buyer. But the thing is, and this is important, when you're selling a car, you can sell it to any Joe Blow on the street. When you're selling a franchise and you have a proposed buyer, you need to propose that buyer to the franchisor, and they need to go through the exact same vetting process that the franchisee went. Which ultimately means if, let's say, I'm selling my business and I've got David that wants to buy the business and I propose David to the franchisor and David goes through the vetting process, discovery call, meet and greet, and for whatever reason, the franchisors don't like David, they don't think he's a suitable fit for the brand, they can decline David as a potential franchisee and obviously give you a reasonable, a reason, and then you will need to go find another buyer. And that's very important. The proposed buyer must meet the requirements of the franchisor, because you can't just sell the franchise and bring anybody in, because then they can potentially damage the brand. So that's key point number 1. The second key point you need to know is when you sell a franchise, if you've sold it, let's do a round figure for $100,000, you might not get $100,000 in your pocket. There are exit fees that you need to pay for in the franchise agreement. And a lot of franchisees get shocked about this when they come to sell the business and realize they might need to pay an assignment fee, right? We have an assignment fee in our franchise agreement, which is 10% of the sales price goes back to the franchisor. So if you've sold it for $100,000, $10,000 is coming back to the franchisor. So you now effectively have got $90,000. So you need to figure out in the franchise agreement, before you sell your franchise, what are the fees associated, the exit fees associated with selling the franchise? There's an assignment fee, there's a training fee for the new franchisee to come in. Got to check the franchise agreement. But you might not get fully all the sale price. If you sell it for $100,000, you might have to chop up some of that to fees to the franchisor. So make sure you check out the franchise agreement. And that's it, team. That is pretty much the procedure. It's very common practice in all franchise agreements. That's a procedure that you need to take if you're a franchisee and that when you're selling the business. Just remember, guys, it's not as easy as selling a car. It's not as easy as flipping a property. There are more procedures that you need to go through when you're selling a franchise. If you enjoyed the video, before I say this, make sure you read the franchise agreement, guys, because every franchise company is different. If you learned something from today's video, drop a comment, like and subscribe for a new episode every single week, guys. And if you want more of this content, or if you want different type of content, put in the comment section what video you want to see next, and I might make a video about it. Take care, God bless, see you next week.